Welcome to 1640, where founders have 1,640 seconds to impress me with their startup. Let's meet the first founder. All right, David, what we're going to be doing today is you're going to 20-second elevator ride to tell me your big idea and to get me excited about what you're building. If that goes well, we're going to take a 4-minute walk where we're going to go a little bit deeper into what you're doing and how you're doing it. And if I really like it, we'll get some coffee and spend 20 minutes doing a deep dive, and you get an opportunity to tell the audience what you're doing and how they can help. Does that sound good?
Sounds great. Let's
All right,
go.
Let's do it, man.
Hi, Rob. I'm David. I'm the CEO of Alteris, and at Alteris, we're building a full-fledged EHR and ERP platform that will streamline all the front office tasks for every small to medium-sized healthcare practice and clinic across America to reduce American healthcare costs today.
That's incredible. Just in time. Let's go take a walk, find out more.
Sounds great.
So, David, you mentioned a couple of acronyms I'm not familiar with. Can you tell me what those are? Is it ERP or what was it?
Yeah, EHR and ERP. So EHR is electronic health records. So that stores all of your patient data from past medical history, what your current encounter might look like in terms of going to the doctor. Then on the other side, the ERP side of things is a resource planning tool for a lot of hospitals to understand and budget what their medical supplies and their needs might be over the next year or so. From there, they keep track of their inventory levels, like syringes, gloves that they need every single day for the hospital. And our goal is to combine both of those platforms together so that they can get a holistic view of both what patients need, but then also what the hospital needs.
So is it sort of automating the front end and sort of some of the back end processes of these healthcare providers?
Right, exactly so. So the goal is to combine all of the front end and the back end operations and make it one holistic view so that the front desk person or the owner of the practice or clinic knows what's going on at all times. And we're going to enable that through AI and giving them the power to do so much of the work that takes hours and hours and mundane tasks all into a single couple of minutes to a couple of days to get everything that they've been doing.
I can't believe how many big trucks are coming down this alley at this hour. It's just unreal. We had so much good luck at the beginning of this, and all of it has run out. And so now we're just getting inundated with trucks. I'm here for it. All right, so how many people do you think per clinic? Is there a percentage, or is there certain roles that this is sort of automating? Are they having trouble, or hospitals and care clinics having trouble filling those roles? What's the pain it's really solving for them? Besides saving them money, is there an actual pain that you're taking care of for them?
Yeah, there's a couple. So if you think about the entire patient process from the start to the end, you have patients who come in. Somebody at the front desk needs to schedule them for an appointment, find out which days work perfect, check if their insurance works, and all of this requires a human to be at the front desk to do these tasks. And a lot of hospitals now are facing the fact that they can't hire the proper amount of employees, whether that people just don't want to work these jobs since they're very, very time consuming. And also you're dealing with a lot of patients who have health problems that they don't even know what's going on, and they might get the pressure onto them that they're being attacked with words and a bunch of other things. So the goal for us is to automate a lot of these processes that they're doing by hand. So whenever they pick up the phone and call an insurance plan to understand if their benefits are processed or are allowed at the specific clinic, all that is going to be automated with AI. We'll have an AI agent go in and call the specific insurance companies and clear all of that information.
Okay.
To the next process where insurance gets involved, you have to submit a claim to insurance to get processed so the clinic or the hospital can get paid. We're automating that entire process too with AI. And currently that process looks like a medical coder goes in on a $75 to $100 an hour basis. They charge the clinic or the hospital that amount. They go out, they get all the human language, convert it into medical codes. Those medical codes get sent to the insurance companies, but there's always human error.
Yeah.
So our goal is to make that efficiency and accuracy be as high as possible so that there's less rejections across the entire chain.
Got it. So that's going to save time, save money, more accurate data, easier referral systems for care-to-care centers,
Right.
specialists, all that. So it cleans up that. How big is this market that you're addressing?
Yeah, so the healthcare market overall is a multi-trillion-dollar market when it comes to insurance and the entire network as a whole.
Trillion with a T.
Yes, with a T. And America is famous for this, especially for our record high healthcare costs.
We're known for our health.
We are definitely. And I want to, give the possibility of the great, amazing American healthcare system that there is to every single person at a reduced cost. And I saw this with my father. My dad got diagnosed a couple years ago with stage 4 cancer. We were going through it as a family, trying to understand who to talk to, what specialists there are, whether that's the front desk person to schedule an appointment. And we were always just stuck behind the complexities of the healthcare system. And we never really found a great way to connect with the doctors or talk to specialists.
Yeah.
And I saw so many inefficiencies within this process. So my goal is to really make it so that patients can see doctors, not the front staff, not paperwork, not insurance. I want to clear all those away and bring it back to the doctor and the patient being the #1 priority.
Yeah. Okay. So this is, at the end of the day, what this is about is increasing the amount of time that each patient is spending with the actual provider of the care,
Right.
and not interfacing with the pieces that make that possible.
Exactly so.
Okay. All right. That's a pretty valuable offering to hospitals, to care centers, and to patients. Is this a dual side market, or is it something that you're going to the care centers and saying, use this system, and then patients are just automatically onboarded onto your platform?
Exactly. So we're selling the product directly to the clinics and to the hospitals. From there, we're planning in the future to build out another platform for the patient side of things where they can collect all their medical records from multiple hospitals and from multiple clinics. A lot of healthcare right now is very archaic and complex, and there's so much bureaucracy between sending information across different hospitals. So we want to bring a power directly to the consumer and allow them to access all their medical history and take that medical history along with anywhere they go.
That's incredible. So there's a kind of the beginning stage, it's going through the care centers, and the next phase is going to be going to the customers and having them own their healthcare data and have them controlling those records versus having it sit at a hospital, have it sit in a doctor's office in whatever form or format, secure or unsecure, that they're doing it. That's pretty incredible. Are there security concerns, right? You're handling, I mean, there's obviously HIPAA compliance, there's rules and regulations around privacy, there's an extra level of scrutiny that comes to. How are you thinking about security?
Yeah, security is the #1 most important thing, especially in healthcare, since there's a lot of violations that can happen that can land us into some dirty water.
Yeah.
So our goal is to not do any of those, and we're securing everything through encryption. We're going to get SOC 2 certified,
Right.
get HIPAA audited, make sure that everything is uptight before we continue to scale and expand.
I have a great HIPAA joke. Do you want to hear it?
Sure.
I can't tell you. It's confidential. Let's see these coffees inside.
Sounds great.
Well, David, do you have any mentors right now?
I don't. I'm kind of looking on the path for a couple, just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I kind of give this advice to some people and take it or leave it, but something I would tell my younger self. I think you really want 3 types of mentors. One is older than you and more accomplished. Somebody that has a good trajectory that you're not going to outgrow them or outpace them, and that can offer you real sound wisdom and advice. That's probably the easiest one to identify in the stack. The second easiest one is someone younger, someone that's a little behind you, a little junior to you, that you can bring along the journey and add value to what they're doing. I've been doing it for a number of years. One of my older advisors and mentors recommended it to me, and I wish I'd started earlier. But I've been working with it for about 5 years, and he's kind of created like this accountability and like how I'm acting, what I'm doing, and who I'm becoming that I wouldn't have without having this person I meet with every month, that I know is going to check in on me and I'm checking in on them. It just sort of informs my behaviors in a real way. The last one, which is the hardest one, by the way, it doesn't seem like a worldview, but it is someone that's the same age as you. Their problem with that is identifying somebody that's not a frenemy or someone that's in competition with you, secret competition with you, but someone who actually cares about your outcomes and wants to collaborate with you and wants to grow with you. Those are the hardest ones to find.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times there's a tendency towards competition that even if there's no real opportunity to compete, they're going to compete.
Yeah.
And so sussing that out's a little bit difficult, but if you can, they can be very, very valuable to you because they're in the same age bracket, they're in the same kind of stage of their life, a lot of their feedback to you is going to be more tangible and more useful than your older mentor who has sort of met that stages in the past and they're looking back through rose-colored glasses, or someone that's coming up behind you that has no idea what you're going through and can offer you no real tangible advice that could help or give you any understanding or clarity around what you're doing. So I like to think of it as younger, same age, older, get those in place, keep in touch with them, be intentional about making time to meet with them.
Right.
It's been one of the biggest boosts in my life is having those people around me, advising me, making me get better, prompting me, challenging me, and encouraging me at times to keep going. So I highly encourage you to pick up a older, same age, younger.
So yeah.
Do damn.
Yeah, I'll definitely take that advice and find some people who might be good mentors and mentees.
Awesome. Let's get back into what you're building because I'm super intrigued by a couple of things and want to figure out like where it is today and where it's going. And so one of the things you mentioned a couple of times were like you're leveraging AI, and AI's big buzzword right now.
Right.
And I think it's going to be hot for a little while, I mean, at least a little while. I mean, for obvious reasons, there's a lot of upside of using it. How integral to your processes and to your team is the leveraging of AI? Are you doing anything unique there? Or are you bringing in already created technology or already created models? Tell me a little bit about how you're thinking about leveraging AI for this company.
Yeah, so there's a couple of steps. I mentioned earlier just about the patient journey process and where those different steps are. We're being really selective on where we're incorporating AI because it doesn't make sense to throw AI at everything.
Right.
It's a completely horrible mess when you do that, since you're just trying to create more buzz and making all these buzzwords happen. So our goal is to really rank the top 3 most important things during this process and find ways to incorporate AI. The first and foremost part is the benefit verification. Your insurance company needs to verify that you're able to be accepted at this clinic. So how we're incorporating AI there is we're going to build AI agents who will go out and call insurance companies, which is a really smart move on our part, since we don't want to make it so that the front office desk person has to do that, since they're checking in patients, they're talking to patients, making sure that they're filling out the right forms. Why have them spend hours upon hours making sure that the insurance works, right? The second part is a little bit deeper into the weeds of it. We're looking to convert human language into medical codes, since this is how the entire insurance part of the medical industry works. Insurance companies have made it so bureaucratic and so complex to file insurance claims that it requires multiple people and multiple steps of using different technologies to try to push through that process just to get a clinic paid out. And through that, we're trying to convert human language into these medical codes so that they don't need to hire a medical encoder or biller to come in and do this for them. And also, they don't have to give 6% away, 6 to 10% away of their top line to a third-party billing company that are also owned by the bigger insurance companies out there, since it makes the most sense for them to integrate both of them because they can get more revenue out of clinics. So our goal is to really automate this process, use AI where it makes sense, and not throw it at everything to solve the problem.
So are you building those models? Are you incorporating already existing models? Are you doing a mixture of those? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a little bit mix of both. Right now, where we're starting is we're using, of course, everybody's OpenAI is the biggest and best model out there, and our goal is to slowly use that as our first iterative process to make sure that we're understanding where we're going. Future down the line, once we get a little bit more data that's a little bit more proprietary to our in-house information and what we need, we're then going to train our own models. And that's really the goal, is to make sure that we're training the model that makes the most sense, that can give us the highest accuracy within the medical space that no other model can do. And there are competitors out there who are trying to do this also, and they've done it. But the accuracy is not going to be like what we're trying to build.
Okay. Because right now you're sort of in a dirty alpha situation where you have a minimal viable product. You're bringing it and trying to get into centers and have them test it out to figure out where you need to build and where you can rely on existing technologies. Is that sort of where we're at?
Yeah, exactly. So we're still trying to figure out, working closely with one pilot at the moment, a small primary care practice that works with low to medium household incomes out in Las Vegas. They work primarily in pediatrics, helping kids kind of grow their way into the medical space. And from there, we've been working very closely with them, using their in-house data that they have on their EHR system, as I mentioned earlier. And we're going to take that information and start to kind of understand where the thought process and the intricacies all lie together to build that network for the model, to build a logic that will then convert those into medical codes for us.
And so how long is this trial period with them?
Yeah.
What's the hope at the end of it that you're going to take away? Is that, hey, we need to build this, or we need to raise money, or we need to like bring on more healthcare providers so we can test and retest our hypothesis? You tell me a little bit about what that looks like in the timeline.
Yeah, we're about 3 months in with this pilot, and we've learned so much about the medical.
I was waiting, this is this down on pilot. Like I just blinked on the word pilot. Stupid. Yeah. Sorry.
No, but we've been at it for 3 months with this clinic.
Yeah.
They've been amazing help. It's funny enough, one of our founding team members' mom who owns the clinic, which is perfect.
What'd you need?
Exactly. It's so perfect.
Yeah.
And it's so perfect because he's also going through med school right now.
Incredible. Yeah,
So,
talk about your co-founder.
yeah,
Like, that's obviously a superpower. You got
Yep.
your first pilot.
right.
Tell me a little about the team. What's the makeup?
Yeah, so right now, my co-founder, his name is Semi. He's a CS student based out of Columbia University, and he's been CSing since he was 10 years old.
Okay.
He knows all about computers, he loves it, and he's doing research in the AI space and also the machine learning space. And he really wants to put this into effect within this, into the medical space.
All right.
The two other team members I've actually, funny enough, worked with on a previous startup, and both of them are super helpful. The first one is a medical student currently. He has a CS undergraduate degree, and then now he's going through med school to become a cardiologist. The other one is a UI UX developer who's been amazing with his designs, and we're going to incorporate as much of his flair and techniques into our platform as much as possible.
That's great. That sounds like you have a little bit of a power squad going on.
Yeah,
Not the Avengers. You need one or two more members to make the Avengers. Before I cut you off so rudely and asked about the team, you were starting to talk about what you were looking for at the end of the pilot. So you're 3 months in. You got in from your co-founder, which is incredible. Start where where you can have those friendly ends, get trial with people that are going to give you the opportunity. That's a lot of times a hard thing for people. Like we need an opportunity. Where are you now? 3 months in, where you want to be, and but another 3 months, and is there another pilot lined up?
right.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so our goal, once we finish with this current pilot that we're working with, still kind of iterate with them and start charging them if possible.
Okay, right.
Right now, they're being charged by a third-party billing company about 6 to 7% of their top line. So our goal is to come in and charge half of that because we're utilizing technology, so cutting their costs practically in half.
Wow.
And they're a pretty decent-sized clinic, making about $500,000 to about $1 million in total revenue a year. So if we're able to just cut half of those costs, it is a game changer for them.
Right.
A lot more money back into the pockets of the owning physician that owns the clinic, to also be able to invest into more infrastructure to make the place a better place for patients coming in. And that is always the goal. Kind of our next steps into the 3-month and the 6-month timeline, funny enough, I met another person at a completely random conference. And from there, he's a director of operations based out in northern Massachusetts who runs a pretty fairly sized, medium-sized hospital.
Yeah.
And we're looking to onboard them as a clinic also, to kind of go through our pilot testing with them, see what it's like at a bigger practice and at a bigger, larger scale, and how we can fill in the different holes that they're trying to utilize technology. And kind of the conversation that we've been having with him is he really wants to utilize AI to really speed up the different processes because he has 120 staff members in-house under his hospital that he runs and pays payroll for.
Yeah.
And he's looking to reduce costs, but also expand their skill sets to be able to accelerate their pathing and their skills and their growth within the firm so that they can continue to build a better hospital for the future. So our goal is to really work with them within the next 3 to 6 months, start onboarding some of our tools onto their platforms and how we can really build in and dig in really hard to become the new EHR for them.
It's incredible. So if you're thinking about how are you scaling your financial models based on how many patients you're going to be that each one of these let's call deployments are
Right.
cycling through monthly, year, annually, or are you thinking about it as far as like care centers? How are you evaluating like what the number you need to hit of patients impacted to get the outcomes you need from a revenue standpoint?
Yeah. So a lot of the mindset of previous industry incumbents like Epic Health, Athena, they charge them a percentage of the top line, right? So whatever comes in through insurance bill, they charge them about 4 to 5 to 6 to 10%, depending on how large or small the clinic is, which is a huge problem.
Right.
Because the insurance companies are the one who actually sets the rates also. So there's a little mix of, gaming between two large industry players who are kind of not really talking with each other, but they're kind of are through how they're charging their insurance. And our goal really is to come in and change the narrative, right? We still want to charge them on a percentage basis of their top line, but at a lower cost, and then bake in other tools and other AI features that will be charged at a monthly rate so that they can better manage their revenue as it comes. It's horrible that they're taking 6 to 10% out of the top line, because it's so much money that's just geared and lost away that they can really be building more infrastructure and building it a better hospital for patient care. Our goal, again, like I mentioned, is to really cut down those costs, make it so efficient with a small and lean team that these bigger industry incumbents don't have. And with a team of 4, the goal is to grow slowly but surely into a team of 10 and slowly build out this larger platform that then we can eventually kick out the industry incumbents and put in a brand new infrastructure in place.
Are there, is there a certain type of client, so within the medical industry, within these practices, or you used a couple other words that I'm not in the healthcare space, so I'm not as adept with the vocabulary, but these care centers, let's call them, for
Right.
lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Is there a segment inside of there that's so hungry for the thing that you're building that they're going to be tripping over themselves to get it? Because if you can cut their cost of getting the money from the insurance provider back to them from the patient, that little circle, that little cycle, they can cut that price down in half, and probably the time that it takes for some money to change hands. Which segment is hurting the most for this or wants it the most? Have you identified that?
Yeah, it's a small to medium-sized clinics. It's 100% them, because as we've seen with private equity coming into the space, buying out a bunch of different hospital chains to smaller clinics and doing this roll-up process, it's become a huge problem. I mean, Massachusetts is a 100% one of these telltale signs that, like, private equity doesn't always make the space better.
I was
Stewart Healthcare.
here. I was like, why is he here? Why in the cold and terrible weather and all this? Why is David still here? And you're like, well, the hospitals, Rob, of course. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You're embedded with all these. How many hospitals are in the Boston area?
So funny enough, about 20 years ago, there was over 50. Now,
Wow.
they've been rolling up and slowly becoming a larger healthcare system like Mass General,
Wow.
Bingham, and we're seeing that reduce year by year to less than 10 to 20 now.
Oh,
Just because of the fact that hospitals have so many high costs, and a lot of them aren't business savvy to really cut down on their costs to become a profitable venture, right? The thing about startups is that we're not always going to be profitable, but if there's a change involved, that's the goal that we're trying to meet. And with these hospitals, the problem with them is Stewart Healthcare is an example, right? They were going under prior to private equity coming in and buying them out. Once private equity did, they cut a bunch of costs out, but that hurt the patient care process. That really destroyed the entire network that they have built over the last 20 to 30 years, just because private equity wanted to make an extra buck out of the system. And there are boundaries for private equity to come in, and there are boundaries for them not. But when it leads to patients dying over the next 5 years because they cut out specific amount of number of nurses that are legally required to be at different parts of the clinic and at the different parts of the hospital for them to maintain proper care, it's not going to help the world. So my goal is to really start helping them be conscious of what their costs might look like, cut down on those costs, make sure that we're still providing the best patient care at every step. And by giving them the proper amount of nurses, because they can afford that extra couple of people on payroll to maintain that high level of care that we have in Massachusetts, and also the American healthcare system, that's going to make it such a better place.
I have a tangential question, and you may have not thought of this before, but are there other, let's say you've solved this healthcare automation on processing of patients and exchange of funds and referrals and that whole piece, which is a big undertaking. Are there other things that you're going to be able to do with this software as a result of the learning you're getting from being in a highly regulated space, dealing with what's called rigid partners that you're going to have to be interfacing with, and disrupting and like us called an industry that hasn't really known for a lot of innovative processes or being front of running the curb, or they're sort of behind the times always. Are there other industries that you're going to be able to attack through this process of going deep on hospitals and care centers? Do you think there's other applications that you can use this technology for?
Yeah, definitely on the ERP side of things. And the ERP is the resource planning again, right? The resource planning is such a crucial component of so many large companies. You think about Tesla, you think about Apple, you think about Amazon, all of them have different supply chains that are building this resource planning, and all these bigger companies have solved it, right? The problem becomes those smaller and medium-sized players who haven't been able to utilize this technology to such a good point where they're able to optimize their processes to become as profitable as possible, right? And the goal isn't to make them the most profitable thing in the world, but it's to help them think about where they're spending their money and how to track and analyze them so that they can put together a better step for the future.
Okay, so we have a couple of pilots. You have one pilot down. You're trying to identify a next one, and then we're gonna go from there to fundraising. I'm imagining after you get
Right.
more data, and you can say, look, here are the outcomes for patients. Here's the outcomes for care providers.
Right.
We need to have fuel. We need to add fuel to the rocket.
Right.
What does that look like? Are you starting to have those conversations already? Are you talking to family and friends? Or are you talking to angel investors, institutionals? Tell me a little bit of that.
Yeah. I just want to take a step back from the raising question and kind of go through my thought process about where we are and how we're looking at this, right? I'm a huge proponent and a believer of iterating as much as possible, as fast as possible for early stage company. And from there, we think that having 4 to 5 clinics to prove that track record that we can do it with different types of care places or care clinics, that we can embed this entire system across the entire industry. So we want to really hone in on our pilots, make sure that they're at the top of mind for us. Once we get past that 4 to 5 clinic mark where we're revenuing about $100,000 a year, that next step is going to be fundraising, because we know that we're not going to be able to build this large scale platform to take and beat off industry incumbents without that large amount of capital backing us.
Yeah. Beat out.
Yeah.
Great. So we covered a lot. I learned a lot. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing a lot of this. I didn't know many of the aspects you touched on. I was almost completely unaware of some of it. Made sense to me, and the from experience side that this is like very informative. So I appreciate it. I want to give you a couple of minutes to look at the camera, talk to our audience about where you are and what you need. What's the things that can help propel your business, to propel your mission, and to help you get further faster.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That sounds great. So right now, what we're looking for is 2 advisors within the healthcare and medical space. I think speaking with Rob to this also is that we're looking for these mentors to come in and really help us to expand our process and accelerate us to the next step. Kind of my 2 asks here initially is a director of operations, and funny enough, that's going to be one of our pilots coming up. But we're looking for another very well-seasoned advisor who's worked with even larger hospital chains to really tackle down that ERP and EHR process so that we can bring those teachings from the larger scale platforms and bring it down to the individual smaller group practices or single owner practices. My second ask is for a medical biller, somebody who's worked in the industry for a long time who really wants to shake it up and make a change in the world. Instead of going through all these different industry payers and insurance and billing companies, we really want to take somebody who's done it before with the medical billing and coding, bring them onto the team because they want a fresh take into how to automate this mundane and long, tedious process together as a step. After that, we're really going to be looking to fundraise. We want to take this company to the next step, build it to something that the entire United States is going to use so that we can make healthcare better for every American, reduce all these horrible medical debt that people go through. And seeing from my father going through stage 4 cancer, the different steps of chemotherapy to immunotherapy, and so there's so many different inefficiencies that I've recognized, taking him to doctor visits, talking to specialists, talking to nurses and doctors who may not know his entire scope due to the boundaries that the healthcare system has placed on us. And especially coming from an immigrant background, my parents don't speak English that well.
Yeah.
For them to navigate this complex, all over, very bureaucratic medical space has been super, super taxing on their mental health and on who they are. And my goal is to really make this step so easy with little to no thought that they're going to be able to be seen by the best doctors, by the best nurses in America to solve whatever that they're facing and that they're dealing with. And that's what I have.
I love that. I think the thing that's inspiring me from this conversation is your father's experience in the moment where he wanted to spend as much time talking and thinking about his healthcare and his outcomes with the people that could provide him the most insights and give him the best advice, the best care, the best treatment. During that time, he ended up spending some amount, maybe significant amount of time trying to work through the insurance, billing, the repayment, but an extra stress or through a process that's already stressful enough. You'll need to add that component, and as you can remove that from millions of people's health experiences, the outcomes will probably will almost certainly be not negatively impacted. And so, at the very minimum, it's at least the same outcome from a medical experience, but most likely it's going to be a little bit on the net positive because they're not going to have to spend their time worrying about, will this get done? Will it get solved? Where's the money going to come from? Is my provider going to take care of it? What does that look like? And also, they're going to get more face-to-face time of the people that can provide the care that they need. So this is incredible. I really appreciate you sitting down. You did a great job in the elevator. Yeah, it was an awesome walk and talk. You got a little bit of coffee. We got to learn a lot more. Appreciate you so much, David. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Rob, for giving me the time and place.
Yeah, this is great. All right, that's a wrap, guys.